It's February 2nd, 2011, and Martin Shkreli is sitting at his computer watching the trading of Orexogen, symbol OREX. Yesterday, it went down 70% after their weight loss pill was rejected by the FDA. It's clearly the worst case scenario, reports an analyst for Lazard Capital Markets. Today, Shkreli is short 32 million shares of the stock. The company needs to run more trials if it hopes to continue developing the drug, but they don't have the money. Martin is betting that the company is a zero. It needs to be. Losses in his hedge fund have been devastating over the last 2 years, and worse, he's told all his investors that returns have been good. This play is his last chance to make it all back. But the lines on the screen are going the wrong way. Let's take a second to hit the basics. Martin Shkreli is the child of working-class Albanian immigrants who is able to secure himself an internship at a hedge fund run by Jim Cramer when he's just in high school. While at the fund, he correctly predicts the collapse in shares of a biotech company called Regeneron. This sector would come to be his specialty as a self-taught prodigy in the field. The well-timed call earns him an investigation by the SEC, the first of many. He is 19 years old. 2 years later, he launches a hedge fund, Elia Capital. The fund loses everything and then some, owing an outstanding debt to Lehman Brothers. Ultimately, he is saved when Lehman collapses and can no longer pursue the payout. Flash forward, and it's 2015. Shkreli is CEO of Turing Pharmaceuticals and has acquired the rights to a drug called Daraprim, used mainly by AIDS patients. He increases cost from $13.50 to $750 per dose. People call him the most hated man in America. This has nothing to do with his arrest later that year, although one might argue that it has everything to do with it. Undeterred by his failures at Elia, Martin launches another venture, MSMB Capital. He raises a few $100,000 and begins trading in November 2009. By November 2010, there's only $331 in his account. He has lost most of it and spent the rest on unauthorized things like office rent, food deliveries, medical expenses, and clothing. This is fine though, because Shkreli has a big fish on the line, and why wouldn't he? As far as anyone knows, MSMB Capital returned over 30% in its first 9 months of operations and has $35 million under management. This is what they think because this is what he told them. $2.35 million in new investments flow to Shkreli, including $1.25 million from the largest investor, but he's losing it as fast as it's coming in. By the end of January 2011, half of the newly deposited funds are already gone. This is the circumstance that leads Shkreli to the Orexogen short. It goes against him, and worse, he's a naked short seller. He told Merrill Lynch he'd found someone to lend the shares needed to put the trade on, even though he hadn't. When the trade collapses, Merrill is stuck with a $7 million loss. This could have easily been the end, but Martin's scramble has only just begun. He emails his investors, telling them MSMB returned 4.24% in February and continues sending out updates with positive developments for over a year. In the meantime, Shkreli creates a new fund, MSMB Healthcare, and a drug development portfolio company called Retrofin. MSMB Healthcare raises $5 million since, as far as anyone knows, he's performing well. He takes nearly $1 million of those dollars and uses it to make a settlement agreement with Merrill, despite the fact that the new fund has no relation to that mess. Another large portion of the fund is invested in Retrofin. Now, when he sends out reports to investors, he can make up whatever numbers he wants. Retrofin is privately held, so its value is basically whatever he says it is. This black box of value later serves a second, even more important purpose. Shkreli tells his MSMB investors that he's shutting down the fund. Their investment plus the returns he claims on their monthly reports will be paid back to them. Instead of giving them cash, though, they'll be getting shares of Retrofin stock. Unlike MSMB Healthcare, MSMB Capital never made an investment in Retrofin, so this shouldn't be possible, but Shkreli proves that impossible and illegal are different things, and he makes it happen. He makes the investors consultants to Retrofin and pays them out for services that they neither perform nor had any intention to perform. The crimes are now complete. In many ways, they're shocking in their simplicity when measured against the reputation of the man committing them. He lost money and he lied about it. And yet, the situation itself is complicated. The FBI summarizes in its press release from December of 2015, Martin Shkreli, charged with defrauding former hedge funds investors and then misappropriating more than $11 million in assets from publicly traded Retrofin to pay back defrauded investors. There's a lot to unpack there. First, the charges didn't occur until conveniently after prosecuting Shkreli would be politically beneficial. Second, Retrofin was now publicly traded, and third, the victims had all been paid back. In fact, the victims who took shares as repayment had been more than paid back. Retrofin had gone public on the over-the-counter market and officially IPO'd later on the NASDAQ. Between then and the trial, shares performed great. For example, one victim testifies he was able to sell the Retrofin shares for between $400,000 and $600,000, a huge increase over his initial $100,000 investment. This outcome, plus an attempt to frame Shkreli as a sort of boy genius weirdo, were the cornerstone of his defense. They went so far as to quote Lady Gaga in the opening statement, saying that Martin was, quote, born this way. Neither of these had any standing in law, but it was enough to convince a jury to acquit him of 5 of the 8 charges levied against him. Orexogen's weight loss pill was approved in 2014, but it did not save the company, which declared bankruptcy in 2018. Retrofin continues to be a public company, but changed its name to Traveri. Martin Shkreli's legend only grew during his imprisonment, thanks to his early involvement in Wall Street bets and achievement of getting a Bloomberg reporter to leave her husband for him. He was released in May of 2022. Thanks for watching, guys.